Let's bring the analogy back to Earth. Imagine driving from New York to Los Angeles and return, knowing that you had to carry all your fuel with you along the way. It would severely limit the other luggage you could carry.
Day to work if you want. Morning, low clouds, but then a sunny day and a high of about 80.
And that's the problem facing the space program at the moment. Out on the highways and byways of the universe, there are no service stations, and any space vehicle must carry its own fuel.
We have a liftoff.
Current launch methods and engines just won't do. As Brian explained recently in his story on research into a giant space catapult,
rockets are as wasteful as they are spectacular. They spend most of their energy lifting their own fuel.
so new fuels and new engines are needed, which brings us to the University of Illinois. Shock tubes have been around for decades. In this experiment, the 10-metre-long cylinder enables scientists to replicate the conditions in a rocket engine. The difference here is that the fuel being tested is metal, a fine powdery aluminium and magnesium alloy, something that could be refined and processed on the moon. Two aluminium plates or diaphragms separate high-pressure helium in what's called the driver section from low-pressure oxygen. The helium is stored at 100 times atmospheric pressure and the oxygen at just half an atmosphere. Placed inside a clear quartz window at the end of the oxygen section, the powder will ignite and burn in the experiment. The helium stored in this chamber acts very much like a piston in an engine. When this valve between the two diaphragms is released, the pressure inside here drops to a point where the first diaphragm can no longer resist the helium, and both diaphragms are ruptured simultaneously. The shock wave that is then produced by the driving action of the helium on the oxygen takes about 1/100th of a second to reach the test point. The strength of the shock crashing into and reflecting off the end window produces a temperature of about 3,000 degrees Celsius.
Okay, it's going to be about a Mach 5 shot. We're going to get ready to fire right now.
Good shot. Good shot.
A good shot means the metal has burned quickly and efficiently. In a lunar propellant rocket engine, the metal replaces the need for so much liquid fuel, and oxygen becomes the main active ingredient, called the oxidizer.
Roll program.
In the shuttle, the oxidizing agent is ammonium perchlorate. Each launch requires a staggering 750,000 kilograms of this chemical cocktail. But the weight savings of metal propellants will be slightly offset by reduced engine performance. For maximum lift, an engine must liberate as much energy from the combustion process as possible. To achieve this, the burn rate of the metal must be increased and the powder all but obliterated during ignition. Every test takes the university team closer to the optimum metal fuel mix. We know there's an abundance of aluminium and magnesium in the lunar soils, perhaps up to 14% aluminium and 7% magnesium. But once we've answered the question of whether or not an alloy of these two metals is a viable rocket propellant, there's still a long way to go to the launch pad. The next phase is to build a small prototype rocket engine to carry out further tests of the propellant. Then more detailed analysis of the moon's resources must begin before a mining and processing plant could be built as part of the proposed moon station. While America ponders the cost of such undertakings, perhaps we'd all do better to consider the cost of not going back to the moon and beyond. The next giant leap for mankind is just around the corner.
I see in my young boy of 15 the idea of man's presence on Mars and the planets and exploration and the learning is very exciting to the young people.
Would you see that perhaps in your son's lifetime somebody will get to Mars and be able to do what Neil Armstrong did in 1969?
I think that's pushing it, but I think that's a possibility. That would be 30 or 40 years from now, and I think that's a distinct possibility.
Good morning from Bill Reeves and Orbit 1 team, and you got a go for HST deploy ops.
And next, the combustion engine still king of the road.
But they're about to be knocked off their throne.